How's it going, everybody? Jordan here, and in today's video I'm going to go over my Spartan build for Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This build does a ton of damage, it kills Athenian soldiers really quickly, and it's incredibly tanky at the same time, just like a real Spartan. This one's real fun. Like all my other builds, in the description you're going to find a link to all the details for this build, including the gear list, all the abilities, and the masteries, so check that out. And if you enjoy the video, please remember to leave a like. Let's get right into it. Alright, so this is a Spartan build, which is going to be obvious. It's a warrior based build. There's pretty much nothing for hunters or assassins here, although it still deals a lot of assassin and hunter damage if you wish to do that. But after patch 1.1.2, it's been really hard for warriors to get back some of the damage they lost, so I felt like I'd also try to adjust those issues with this build as well. So a lot of the elements of this build can be taken to other warrior builds, but I wanted to design it around the specific weapon type, the spear, and a lot of Spartan based abilities. Alright, so let's get right into the main perks. The first main perk is chance to ignore half damage. Now, spoiler alert, I use a legendary spear on this build that gives you an additional chance to ignore half damage, which puts the total percentage chance to ignore half damage on this build over 100%. So no matter what happens from bows or attacks, I will only receive half the amount of damage with this build. Perk number 2, spear damage. This is a heavy spear based build. I want as much spear damage out of it as I possibly can, so I'm putting as much spear damage on my boots and my weapons as possible. Perk number 3, crit chance and damage at full health. This is vital to all builds moving forward, I'd say. The meta has moved to doing as much critting as possible to make back the damage that we lost in the patch. So this can be on your boots, on your waist, on your gauntlets, on your head. A lot of gear can have crit chance and damage at full health. You want to use it on as many as you possibly can, no matter what build you're using, in my opinion. And the fourth and final is fire damage. Fire damage lets you deal an additional punch of melee damage, and it just melts enemies away. It's really fun to play with. Alright, let's get into the main gear on this build. The first one is the Staff of Hermes. This is a spear, even though it's called a staff, that you get in the storyline. So I'm not going to spoil how you get it, but that's where you get it, is if you complete part of the story. And this has the 19% warrior damage, and like I said earlier, the unique part of this weapon is it has chance to ignore half damage on it. It's the only weapon to have that perk on it. That perk cannot be on any other weapon except this one. And then you have the additional legendary engraving, low chance to gain a 30% health shield when hit. This comes in really handy. What's nice about it is it'll proc, and anyone who tries to hit you will just be bounced back as if you're parrying what they hit you, and so it allows you to take down enemies a lot quicker. And then I have weapon damage becomes fire damage because I don't want to be reusing the fire ability all the time. And then on the second one I use Bite of the Underworld. Now this is a weapon I believe you have to get from the store or rolling it from the Olympia store. This has warrior damage, spear damage, and then more warrior damage on top of it, and then I put the 30% armor penetration on top of that to allow my spear attacks to penetrate that much more armor of the enemies. And then on my bow, I have the Hades bow, which gives us warrior damage, fire damage, my basic arrows become fire damage, and then I have crit chance. On the head, this is where we get chance to ignore half damage, crit chance at full health, crit damage, and warrior damage. Now, the difficulty about this build is you can also put fire damage on here, but you can't fit 5 perks, so you're gonna have to pick one or the other. So you could take 28% chance out, put fire damage in if you want more damage and you're willing to take more hits. That's kind of flexible on this particular item. On the gauntlets, I have crit chance, crit damage, and crit damage while at full health with warrior damage. So again, we're really leaning on getting as many crits as possible. And then on the chest, I have warrior damage, crit damage, and then the third perk can kind of be what you want it to be. I chose elemental resistance, and then 2% damage dealt restored as health. This is important because you are going to receive hits, but if you can make your health back and get yourself back to full health as soon as possible, it will reproc all the full health critting that you do, and you'll be able to keep clearing out enemies a lot
lot quicker. And then on the waist, we have chance to ignore half damage, crit chance, and crit damage at full health. Again, a lot more critting with the chance to ignore half damage there. Now on the boots, I went overboard. I did warrior with damage with spears and then damage with spears and staff. So technically I'm not using a staff, but this gives us a plus 35% damage to spears and then a 14% crit chance while full health. Now, if you didn't want to be so over the top, I probably would take out the damage with spears and staffs and replace that with a crit damage while at full health. If I do get that piece of gear, I'll probably swap it out, but that's what I'm using so far. Alright, let's get into the abilities. So for the abilities, as you can see, I am only in the warrior tree. I'm not doing multi-shot or devastating shot. I don't really use much of the bow on this unless I need it, even though with the crit chance and crit damage at full health, it does do decent hunter damage. But we have the charged heavy attack, and you can't have a Spartan build without a Spartan kick. It's a lot of fun to kick people off stuff, people off boats, that kind of stuff. We got health, and then Ring of Chaos, and then Battle Cry of Ares, which gives you 50% more damage. Plus, if you're being attacked and killed, you won't be able to die if you weren't aware of that. And then we have the overpowered attacks. I'm not a big fan of the spear overpowered attack, but as I got used to it, it became really valuable against mercenaries or in conquest battles. So actually, I really liked it eventually, and then I put the rest of my points into passive areas. So we get more crit damage over here, more hunter damage, and adrenaline. If you weren't aware, in the archery mastery, your adrenaline will slowly refill one slot if it's not fully filled. And then we got weapons master and gear master. Alright, so the masteries, I went and put 15 points into damage with spears. On the warrior end, I put a couple points in warrior damage, a couple points in health, armor, and melee resistance, and then 10 points into damage dealt restored as health. And then the big ones is I put 15 points in crit chance while at full health, 15 points in crit damage while full health, and then 15 points in chance to ignore half damage to put the total of this number above 100% chance to ignore half damage. So that buys all the tankiness with just those couple items, and then the rest of the perks and the rest of the masteries can be spent on things like crit damage and crit chance. Alright, so that's the build. I'm going to quickly show you the transmog. I feel like that this could be easy, you could handle it yourself, but what I'm using is obviously the Spartan helmet, but the one thing that's different is I use the plated copper. Now you could use gold or black iron, or but I prefer the plated copper. It looks a little cooler to me. And then I'm using the Spartan gauntlets on the gauntlets, the Spartan chest on the chest, the Spartan waistband, and then the Spartan boots, all plated copper. And then I'm also using the Spartan javelin plated copper. Thanks for checking out the Spartan build. It was a lot of fun. This one is perfect for those of you who love spears and warrior builds. It's going to be really powerful for you if you use it. Also, please like the video if you liked it, and subscribe, because I'm going to be coming out with more build videos like this, but I'm going to be doing more towards weapon type. So we're going to be coming out with a staff build, an axe build, a sword build, that kind of stuff. So be on the lookout for that, and I appreciate your support as always, and I'll see you next time.